Chapter 1, Rescued a Girl. Ninghai was an extremely modern city that did not lose the traditional characteristics of Shenzhou country. The old western buildings mixed with the modern skyscrapers on the bund. At noon, on the riverside, a young man in his early 20s, wearing a blue short-sleeved t-shirt and denim shorts was leaning against the railings. He was quietly enjoying the cool breeze from the river, ignoring the passing tourists as his mind was in a mess. His name was Ning, and he had just slipped out from his reunion with his classmates who were graduated. Recalling how his classmates who were much weaker than him had flaunted themselves in front of him because they found receiving units, he felt a burst of irritation. On the other side of the river, the Oriental Pearl TV Tower and Jinmao Tower were graceful and magnificent, giving people a vigorous, courageous and unrelenting hint. There were people in the scenery in people, and people merged in the scenery, which made this international metropolis more unique and charming. But he didn't have the slightest bit of mood to enjoy. He hadn't been home for 5 years, and he couldn't get in contact with his father and 4 masters either. What should he do in the future? There was still a hint of unfading childishness to his exquisite features that was like a sculpture, and a hint of longing was revealed in his deep eyes that were as clear as black crystals. If he had a choice, he would rather never come to the university in Ninghai, but stay in his small town to lean on his quiet father instead of wandering this bustling and impetuous city like a rootless duckweed. At this moment, he truly missed home. Come on. Call 120. She fainted. What's wrong with the beautiful girl? She actually fainted. Sigh. Young people don't pay attention to training, and their physiques are really unqualified. Only a cool breeze can make them faint. No. Is this girl sick? Look at her face. How pale. It's a bit hot today. Could it be that she suffered heat stroke? The sudden clamor from the surroundings broke Ning's silence. He looked up and saw a crowd of tourists surrounding him, blocking his view. Ning looked through the gap in the crowd and faintly saw a girl in a white dress lying on the ground, as if she was in shock. His heart skipped a beat at once as he reflexively walked over and yelled, "Step aside, step aside. Who the FCK are you? Why are you squeezing? FCK, are you crazy?" Ning squeezed himself in the crowd which burst into discontented shouts and curses. "I've learned medicine before. Everyone move aside. I need to give her a check." His gaze landed on the fainted girl, and seeing her pale face, which was covered by her long black hair, Ning tensed up, and immediately shouted. Hearing that he was a doctor, everyone quickly made way for him. But after seeing his looks, many people looked at him with suspicion. This guy was a doctor? Wasn't he too young? Ning walked over to the girl's side and saw that her face had turned blue, her lips were cyanosed, and it was difficult for her to breathe. She was unconscious, and had a painful expression. Immediately, he reached out his hand to feel her pulse. From the rapid and weak pulse, he immediately figured out that it was the heart failure caused by the heart disease. The girl was in a very dangerous situation. She would die within 2 minutes if she was not given emergency treatment. And she would not make it to the hospital. Without hesitation, Ning carried her and made her lie down on the ground. After touching her carotid artery, he immediately sat on the ground and made the girl's neck rest on his legs, allowing her to lean backwards. He then stretched out his hand and pressed onto the girl's towering chest. His expression was extremely serious, and his actions were so damn good. The surrounding crowd suddenly realized something, and looked at Ning with contempt. It seemed that this fellow saw the girl was beautiful, so he came to take advantage of her, but he had a bitter and hateful expression on his face. After Ning had pressed for a long time, he felt the girl's pulse, pinched her nose, and took a deep breath before bending over to perform artificial respiration. A few young men who coveted the girl's beauty were already stamping their feet and beating their breasts, regretting that they did not do it earlier. just as a few rascally young men were looking at Ding Ning with reddened eyes, wanting to push him away and replace him. Ding Ning, with a solemn expression, pressed one of his ears against the girl's towering chest and listened. Then, he took out a box from his pocket and took out 7 silver needles. He stabbed them into the girl's chest at lightning speed and twiddled them. Fortunately, the girl had nipple stickers and didn't have to worry about breast-bearing. The girl's pale face had visibly recovered its color. Her long eyelashes trembled and her breathing gradually became even as well. This made Ding Ning heave a long sigh of relief. So he really is a doctor, not someone who takes advantage of the girl. He seems to be a Chinese doctor who understands acupuncture and moxibustion. It's just that his cardiac compression technique looks really lascivious. Holy shit, so there's actually such benefits to being a doctor. I also want to learn medicine. Go to hell, do you think you can always meet a beauty? If you meet an ugly fat woman with bad breath, will you still perform artificial respiration to her? The few young men teased each other, greedily looking at the girl's impeccable appearance. Ding Ning did not notice her beauty, but instead frowned as he looked at the girl. Logically speaking, she should have woken up, but why did she have no reaction? Was he ignoring something? Ding Ning carefully examined it, and his gaze quickly focused on the girl's knee that was injured when she fell down. It was only a very small wound, and it should have stopped bleeding long ago. But even now, that wound was still slowly but persistently bleeding, causing the girl's knee-length white skirt to turn red. Ding Ning's pupils contracted intensely, and his face revealed a trace of pity. This girl was so pitiful, for that not only did she have a heart disease, she was also suffering from severe aplastic anemia. Without any distractions, he lifted up the girl's dress, revealing her long, snow-white legs. He rubbed his hands together and then rubbed around the girl's knees with his hands. What a smooth, warm and soft feeling. Ding Ning, who was still a virgin, felt his heart shake and his face reddened. He hurriedly gathered his thoughts and forced the pitiful amount of innate chi that he had painstakingly cultivated for more than 10 years into the girl's skin through his scalding hands, and performed the enhanced compression hemostasis for her. His forehead was oozing sweat. Bastard, let go of my sister. Right at this moment, a handsome young man who was holding 2 bottles of drink got into the crowd and saw this scene. His face was ashen as he shouted,